Good evening, and I am grateful to the Business Committee for scheduling this opportunity and this session so quickly. Yesterday was a very difficult day for the Leaving Certificate class of 2020. The announcement that was made has inevitably generated a lot of anxiety and worry for them. While the announcement yesterday was important, we could not provide all of the answers to their questions at that time. I do wish to apologise sincerely once again to the Leaving Certificate class of 2020 for what has happened. Deputies will be aware that 2 errors in the calculated grade system for this year's Leaving Certificate have been identified. They are errors that should not have occurred. I am very clear on that point. As part of work being done for the Leaving Certificate applied 5th year cohort, an inconsistency in how the data was performing was detected by Polymetrica, the contractor for the calculated grades process. Polymetrica contacted the calculated grades office on Tuesday evening to notify them that the inconsistency had been identified. It was agreed immediately that Polymetrica would seek to investigate this anomaly further and would report back to the Calculated Grades Executive Office the following morning. This report was received by the Calculated Grades Executive Office on Wednesday morning and identified that Polymetrica had made a mistake in the writing of code for the standardisation process. On Wednesday afternoon last, I was told a mistake had been identified by Polymetrica. At that point, we knew that 1 line out of 50,000 lines of code had a mistake in it. We knew that mistake would impact on the results of some students, but we did not know exactly how many would be affected. We knew that it was important to find out as much as possible about the error before making an announcement. Polymetrica and the Calculated Grades Executive Office then began a detailed analysis of 50,000 lines of code affecting more than 400,000 exam results. The system was meant to take a number of factors into account in computing the Leaving Certificate results. Among these were the results of the students' junior cycle examinations, which were considered at an aggregated class level. It is important to say the junior cycle results of individuals were not being used to predict or influence their Leaving Certificate results. The data was to be used at an aggregated class level. The system was meant to draw on the core subjects of Irish, English and Maths and combine them with the students' 2 best non-core subjects. The coding error instead combined them with the students' 2 weakest non-core subjects. In the course of the review, the Calculated Grades Executive Office immediately undertook on Friday. Staff found a further error in the code. On Friday, staff found a further error in the code. The results of the subject Civic, Social and Political Education, CSPE, were meant to be disregarded by the system. They weren't. They had been included in error. Following discovery of the second error, the Calculated Grades Executive Office undertook a detailed walkthrough, taking every parameter and rule underpinning the standardisation model and verifying in conjunction with the contractor that it was working correctly. While nothing further was found as a result of this exercise, I wanted a further level of assurance. As such, I instructed my department to seek an independent expert to review the code, most importantly of all, so as to give our students the assurance they would now require. My department has engaged Educational Testing Service, or ETS, to provide a review to offer an independent expert opinion on the adequacy of the coding. Furthermore, it is my intention that a full review of the calculated grades process will be conducted in due course. ETS is a US-based not-for-profit organisation that conducts research and develops assessment programmes such as the SATs. ETS is one of the largest testing and assessment services in the world. They develop and administer more than 50 million achievement and admissions tests each year at more than 9,000 locations in the United States and 180 other countries. We expect to have the outcome of ETS's work as soon as possible, and I will make that information available at the earliest opportunity. While we do not yet have the final figures, and we won't have final figures until the independent review which is underway has been completed, our checks to date indicate that the error has affected approximately 7,200 grades. There were over 400,000 calculated grades in total issued on September 7th. As a result of both errors, approximately 6,500 students received at least one result which was one grade lower than they should have. That is being rectified. In addition to the students who received a lower grade than they should have in this year's Leaving Certificate, some students received a higher grade. They will not be affected in any way. Their grades stand. Those who have received a lower grade will have their proper grade restored. When all the checks are completed, we will ensure the corrected results to the students affected. We will issue the corrected results to the students affected. As soon as it is possible to do so, every student will be contacted by text message and informed whether they are impacted or not. Those who are affected will be directed to the Calculated Grade Student Portal, where they will find a new statement of provisional results. This will replace the one that they received on September 7th. I would have liked to have had complete and final answers to all of the issues so that I would not be leaving students with questions once the issue was announced. I would also have liked to have had the certainty that everything had been cross-checked, but that would have taken further days. But we were conscious that the CAO was issuing round 3 on Thursday and might need to incorporate what our analysis had revealed in their plans. The decision was therefore made to inform CAO on Wednesday morning of what we knew at that point and to call a press conference at 4 p.m. that same day. Furthermore, a dedicated helpline for students was set up within my department, which opened at 4 p.m. yesterday also. All students received a text message yesterday advising them that an issue had arisen with the calculated grades. The opposition were briefed in advance of the press conference. The information I have outlined here is available to students on gov.ie Leaving Certificate. The dedicated helpline for students, which is available on 01 8892 199 and is open today and tomorrow from 8:30 until 5 p.m. and on Saturday and Sunday from 11 until 4 p.m. In addition, the National Parents Council, post-primary, in conjunction with guidance counsellors, have kindly agreed to reopen their Leaving Certificate helpline for next week, running from Monday to Friday from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. each day. I understand that approximately 200 calls from students and parents were made to the helpline yesterday afternoon and evening. Approximately a quarter of the calls sought further information on when the review process would be completed and revised results issued. Other topics included whether those with exemptions in Irish had their results properly reflected, when revised CAO offers will issue, and the separate issue of when calculated grades appeals will be completed. The announcement I made yesterday changes things for students, and even if for many of them it improves their situation, it shouldn't have happened. On behalf of the Department of Education and Skills, I want to apologise sincerely to our Leaving Certificate students for the situation we are now in and for the upset it has caused. Students and their families, I appreciate, now want to know what happens next. The results data have now been rerun through the corrected model. Once the review by ETS is completed and the results are finalised, the Department will have full information on which students will benefit from the improved grades and the specific subjects involved for each student. The Department will then contact all students, advising them when they will receive a higher grade or grades or whether or not they are impacted. The Department will send a corrected file of student results to the CAO so the CAO can work with higher education institutions to determine if the student is due a new offer and to do everything possible to facilitate their admission. Any student who would have been entitled to a different offer in previous CAO rounds, if they received the correct grade on September 7th, will receive this offer or a deferred offer as soon as practicable under the updating of results. Equally, if a student receives an improved offer but would like to defer that place until next year, I would encourage them to contact the institution concerned to establish if a deferral is possible for them. It is important to say that this is in line with the practice that occurs in the appeals process every year. Where a student who has already started college receives a deferred offer as a result of an upgrade, the student can continue in their existing course this year and in respect of next year remain eligible for free fees and SUSI funding as if they were starting in college for the first time. Any student who has applied to a higher education institution outside the state who believes their grade change will impact those arrangements can contact the department through a dedicated email address lc2020@education.gov.ie. Students continue to have the option to register for the postponed written examinations which commence on the 16th of November. The closing date for this registration was to be tomorrow at 5 p.m. I have today asked the State Examinations Commission to extend that registration deadline until Wednesday next. I want to acknowledge that students have had an exceptionally difficult year and they've coped unbelievably well with COVID-19 challenges. Finally, as was confirmed yesterday in this House by An Taoiseach, we will do everything to support students who now have the chance to change their course and who might wish to do so. Gur maithagah.